Harry at risk of losing his U.S. visa? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we are talking about these growing reports and particularly a request from the Heritage Foundation wondering about Prince Harry's visa status, particularly in light of his admission of drug use, because that is one of the things that can actually get you kicked out of the United States if you are on a visa. It's a very interesting question and raises a lot of points, I think, of contention. Is how did Harry get here legally? Does he have the performer's visa? Does he have a spousal visa? What type of visa does Prince Harry have? Does he have a temporary one, or is he trying to officially immigrate here to the United States? I think it raises a lot of interesting legal questions, especially in light that he is a royal. We have a couple other royals here living in the United States as well, or coming here to the United States. So what is their status? And as I was thinking about this too, I wondered, when did Harry officially apply for his U.S. visa? Because Harry and Meghan, they had to make this all very dramatic, that they had to be whisked away out of Canada in the middle of the night. But if Harry has a visa, that process does take a while. Now, granted, he is a celebrity, you could say, so there is somewhat of a fast track for that. But I actually have a little bit of an inside look here, and it is not as cut and dry as you might think. And I think it goes to show as well that Harry and Meghan were planning on moving to the U.S. for a while. And so this is just, again, throw some interesting wrenches into their narrative. So we'll discuss that today. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel, I provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news and sometimes a little bit of gossip too. In addition, I will be reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit about history as well. So if you guys want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. I would love to have you back. I will be doing some on-the-ground coverage of the coronation, which I'm super stoked about. So if you're interested in that and want to see my behind-the-scenes looks, feel free to subscribe. Again, I would love to have you. We also have just a couple of little housekeeping things. I have a newsletter, Royal Wire, that comes out every week. I also have a fashion channel that will be back up and running in April, and I have a link to that down below. And I also will have a couple of upcoming trips doing tours. I will be giving you guys a tour of, for those who sign up, of Austria and Germany, and then hopefully Scotland as well. So I will get those up very, very soon. But if you guys are interested in that, you can check out the link down below for my waitlist for my trip to the UK, because it is all sold out. Yay, I'm so excited, guys. And we also have something from Catherine. So today, the Princess of Wales, she unveiled a new business partnership that she's trying to implement with her early years project and Shaping Us. And so this, I think, is a great thing, because I wondered when they initially announced Shaping Us, I was like, are there a bit more details here to it? And it seems like what they're trying to do is get businesses very invested in this early years. Now, we do know that most businesses, because parents need diapers, clothing, cribs, like there's all sorts of things that parents need, that they are a great resource for businesses. So this collaboration and really trying to get them even more invested, even in the aspect of parental leave. Catherine, I think, dipped into a bit of that as well. So that was very interesting. I really particularly loved this picture of Catherine. I think this is a gorgeous shot from Getty and Alamy. I think this is marvelous. So I'm really, really excited for this project, and I'm really glad and excited to see Catherine very much in a business mentality and just continuing to grow this project. But back over to Harry, because again, this whole visa thing is really, really interesting. And I think Harry himself, and just to be clear, Harry brought this all on himself. This is entirely the result of Harry and Meghan talking way too much, giving us way too many details that we can poke holes in things, or we just are interested in things. And they're also trying to interfere in U.S. politics. They've done this numerous times. Meghan took a picture of herself voting. She has interfered on things on parental leave. She called even U.S. senators. Meghan Markle, using her title, this is the Duchess of Sussex, has no business anywhere in U.S. politics. Neither does the Duke of Sussex, who doesn't even like the First Amendment of the United States. So give me a break. He has no business interfering in our politics. We fought a war over almost 250 years ago on this issue to make sure that we don't have royals interfering in our lives. And yet Harry and Meghan, they want to interfere. They want to show us the way, because they are the bearers of all wisdom, guys. They are the bearers of all wisdom. So looking at this visa issue, number one, it's curious to me as I started thinking about it, how Harry actually got his visa and what visa does he have. So again, we were given this dramatic, they had to escape in the middle of the night as the borders were closing and everything. And I'm like, okay, wait. Now, there is a possibility that whatever visa he had could have been expedited through the system. But if he was going to America, and that was always the plan, which I think it always was, then they would have been having to interview earlier than they initially said. So perhaps I think there is a picture of them arriving back in Canada after spending some time in LA. That could have actually been his chance to interview. Well, I know there's a British consulate in Los Angeles. I don't know if, I'm sure there might be probably some sort of visa facility. So it was a British consulate, so you could get British passport things, because I've been there. And there's also, I'm sure, an office for if you're applying for a visa, because we obviously do have a lot of people coming over from over the border. Los Angeles is a huge city, and the United States itself is massive. So getting to someplace like Washington, D.C., flying from like California to the East Coast can be a 6-hour trek on a plane, one direction. That is a long flight. Or you're skipping a bunch of, you at least have to transfer, and that's long waits. Anyways, so Harry and Meghan were already working on this. Harry was already probably in the interview process for his visa. And the question is, what visa did he get? Is he going for a non-immigrant status? So that means he will remain a UK citizen, but he is living here for whatever period of time that might happen to be. Or he is looking for an immigrant status visa. So this means that he is permanently planning on living in the United States forever. And I believe it was Emily Blunt who explained that when she decided to become a US citizen, she actually had to renounce the Queen. And could Harry do that? Maybe. But there's a couple of different options for the visa he did get. And there's been a couple, suppose one of them is a diplomatic visa. Harry has no business having a diplomatic visa. And part of what the Heritage Foundation is doing is requesting and saying, okay, what did he say in his visa application? And what visa did he get? This dingbat over here has no business having a diplomatic visa. He does not represent a head of state. He has no official function in the British government. And a diplomatic visa actually gets you out of certain things. There's certain charges or crimes that you cannot actually be charged for if you have a diplomatic visa. Obviously, a lot of the times, if there is a situation regarding a visa, a person with a diplomatic visa, they will work through arbitration in some way to get that person, if they committed a particular crime, get them accountable for that. Now, an actual interesting example, forgive me, I don't know the names, I just know the story, is that a woman, a US citizen who was there in the UK on a diplomatic visa, killed a man in a vehicle accident and fled the UK before prosecution, or that the US government could say, hey, you have our permission to prosecute her. So she fled to the United States, and she has not actually gone back. I think they even met, I believe, with President Trump to a certain extent. And there was I think an incident where he had brought them there, and he told them she was going to be there so she could apologize or something bizarre like that. Anyways, all that to say is that the diplomatic visa gives you, to a certain extent, a get out of jail free card, because you don't want people who have this special diplomatic status, you want them to be able to operate to a certain extent. And this is not just for the ambassador himself, this is for basically the entire staff. And I believe she was actually just a family member of a person at the embassy. So this covers family members too. So Harry has no business having that visa. I hope to goodness he does not, because he does not deserve it, and he has no purpose. He represents nothing now but his own business interests. Now, in his head, he thinks he still represents the monarchy, but he doesn't, and he's living here, and if he's living here, he should just be Prince Harry, or just Harry, not the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, everything like that. But that's what the Dog and Pony Show Harry and Meghan want us to see, is this act. But when it comes to this diplomatic status, hope to goodness he doesn't have it. But there's a couple of options of the visas he could have. So a couple of Harry's options that he could have, again, diplomatic government official, which he does not need in the slightest. The most likely is performing athlete, artist, or entertainer, or a specialized occupations in fields requiring highly specialized knowledge. So basically just you're an exceptionally talented person visa. Now, most likely Harry does have the performing athlete, artist, or entertainer visa. Does he even really qualify for that visa? I don't know. But again, that's his status as a celebrity now. He is a celebrity. He doesn't want to admit that. He doesn't think he is, but he's a celebrity now. So he has the celebrity lifestyle. He lives in a celebrity enclave, so he is a celebrity. He's no longer royal. Is he a performer, really? No, because he's done his reality TV shows. The other option is a specialized occupation or fields. Again, this is kind of interesting. So it's to work in a specialty occupation requires a higher education degree or its equivalent, includes fashion models of distinguished merit and ability in government research and development, or co-produce projects administered by the Department of Defense. So you either have to have a PhD or you're a model. That applies to, which I think is kind of hysterical. Now, could you say Harry's a model? No. I think he could be under the entertainer visa. And the interesting thing is, because of these questions, because of what he wrote in his own book regarding his drug use, the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative foundation, their oversight project, is requesting more information from the government about Harry's visa status. What is his visa? Why is he here? What is his status? Because technically, if he has admitted drug use, he should not be here. He should, in his next visa interview, which apparently the performer one is renewed every 3 years, he should technically be kicked out because, wouldn't you know it, he has drug offenses, basically, and he admitted to. And so it says, Mike Howell, director of Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project, said, this request is in the public interest in light of the potential revocation of Prince Harry's visa for illicit substance abuse and further questions regarding the prince's drug use and whether he was properly vetted before entering the United States. Again, like I said earlier, this was apparently somewhat, or at least portrayed as, a last-minute trip. Now, granted, Prince Harry as a prince probably could get expedited through the visa process. I've actually seen the visa process. I actually did a little bit of an internship at the State Department, and so I've seen people actually be interviewed for their visas. And if you are, for example, a British entertainer, every time you go to the United States for a publicity tour or to work, you need to get a visa. So Harry would have to get a visa before he stepped foot in the United States, if he was planning on. Now, if you are a U.S. citizen or a British citizen, I believe it's 60 days, maybe 90 days, that you can come to the United States as a tourist. But you can't come and work and then go back, and you get in trouble for that. You have to have an official status. And Harry's official status here, I think, is murky. And he's brought this all on himself. He's brought all these questions onto himself, him and Meghan. But I will apologize because I tried to look, I swear I saw the letter earlier this morning on Twitter, and I tried to look for it. I can't really find it. So I do feel like this is kind of interesting because if you go to Heritage Foundation site, their oversight project, it doesn't have this Harry thing on there. So I just feel like to a certain extent, I somewhat question whether or not this letter went out or not. But I do think we have the right as the public to know, especially because Harry's interfering in U.S. politics. And he's using a foreign title, a foreign royal title from a monarchy that we overthrew here in the United States to do his bidding. And that crosses so many lines. And again, Harry and Meghan brought this all on themselves. They brought this all on themselves because the simple thing they had to do was be essentially normal. You're going to Hollywood, be producers, do the Hollywood thing. You don't need to be investing in politics. You can have your charity, but don't praise yourself and pat yourself on the back for giving 50 people $25 gift cards. That's just a little silly. And don't admit to drug use in your own memoir. That would be a really, really smart thing to do. But Harry and Meghan didn't do that. And ergo, people are wondering, did Harry lie on his visa application? Did he admit to his drug use? Did he not? Now, will Harry get kicked out of the United States? Of course he won't. He won't. But the increased scrutiny Harry and Meghan have on themselves regarding everything they do is a problem of their own creation. If they had just, again, like I said, actually done something without involving the monarchy, without getting into politics, they would have been fine. Again, Harry and Meghan have made the crucial, critical error of coming here to the United States very haughty, very arrogant, very much thinking that they were bigger than the crown of England. And as it turns out, well, maybe not. Maybe actually the more you talk, the less people like you because you're sounding very arrogant. You're telling people what to do, and yet you're not willing to do the same. And you're also not willing to recognize your own faults in certain situations. Everything is the fault of something else. Everything is the fault of somebody else. It's the monarchy, it's the press. Everything is somebody else's fault. So check out this little funny satire bit that I think it was Channel 7, I guess, did of Harry. So check out this little bit.
I'm here to teach you how to bring down the royal family. Step 1. Do boatloads of drugs with B-list celebrities, wander around Las Vegas completely naked, blame the family. The most important thing is to suggest that everything you've ever done wrong is their fault. Daddy and Camilla leaked stories to the press. William and Kate talked me into dressing like a Nazi. And the Queen gave me a mad spliff to puff on. 420 for life.
Oh my goodness, guys, that is absolutely fabulous. And it's so true. Everything is everybody else's fault but Harry and Meghan. But they could have lived in the United States by themselves. They could have lived in the United States without causing a fuss, would actually have been very successful. Again, I have no real issue with Harry and Meghan living here. What I have an issue with is them interfering in politics, them attacking the royal family, and them acting as if they're royals and trying to establish their own court in the United States when we don't have a monarchy here. You cannot be the Duchess of Montecito. You can't. So why are you calling yourself the Duchess of Sussex when you've hardly ever been to Sussex? And why are you calling your children now Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet of Sussex, a place they've never been and probably never will go? That's just stupid. And we also have a couple of royals who lived here in the United States exceptionally well and very low key. The first example, of course, is Princess Madeleine of Sweden, who is sadly leaving the United States and moving back to Sweden. So her and her husband moved here, I want to say it was 4 or 5 years ago now, and they brought their 3 young children and they raised them there in Florida, and they've had a fantastic time. I think they've probably really, to a certain extent, enjoyed the weather, because it is, although it is very hot and humid in Florida, you don't have bitterly cold winters like you do in Sweden. So they enjoyed their time there. Her husband, Chris O'Neill, he has his own business, and so they've done basically their own thing, but he has family in Europe, and she is the daughter of the King of Sweden. So they're going to go back and live, it sounds funny, but living in the royal stables. Apparently that's where her home is. It's very nice, I'm sure. It's not like stables, but that is where they will be living, and it makes sense for them to go back. But have you heard anything about Princess Madeleine? No. Does she do occasional things for Sweden? Yes. But is she mostly a stay-at-home mom with an occasional peripheral interaction with her family in Sweden, or her and her mother's charity's childhood? Yeah, absolutely. So she's not interfering in U.S. politics. She's not saying, well, my husband is a U.S. citizen and he over here, he voted and you should vote too. Because I'm sure to a certain extent, she doesn't care that much. And she also is like, well, this is not my country, and I don't have really a right to interfere, even though my husband Chris O'Neill has U.S. and UK citizenship, and their oldest daughter was actually born here in the United States. So to me, she is like the only American-born princess. There are more technically, but I don't think, to me, it's really Princess Leonor, because she was actually born a princess, not Lilibet, who was retroactively made one and is still just has no connection to the UK. Their children have no connection there. So it doesn't make any sense. We also have Prince Joachim and his wife Marie from Denmark. They will be moving to Washington, D.C. And so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. This has come after their children have been stripped of their titles of prince and princess, have been made or counts and countess. So there was a bit of a caustic time there in Denmark. They have actually been living in France because his father was actually French, and so now they will be moving to the United States. But he will be an attaché to, I think, the Danish Defense Forces there, or the Defense Office there, something to that effect. That's kind of where he worked. That's a bit of what he did in France as well. So that is something where they're moving. I know the Greek royal family, they have a home in Manhattan because the Crown Princess of Greece, Marie Chantal, so she would be technically, I think, the hereditary Crown Princess of Greece. Yes, I know, it's all very complicated because her father-in-law was the king of Greece, but because Greece no longer technically has a kingdom, she is just the hereditary Crown Princess, and her husband obviously is hereditary Crown Prince, so she is actually I believe, an American citizen, if I remember correctly. And so her kids and her have lived, they've mostly split their time with her and her husband and everything between the United States, so New York City, and London. And I believe that her daughter actually went to NYU. She's actually part of the duty-free, what is it called? What were they called? The Miller sisters. The Miller sisters. So she was one of the 3 Miller sisters. So her family is very, very loaded. And so they spent their time between the upper echelon in New York and London. I think they've mostly been in London, and there were rumors that they were going to relocate to Greece, and they've decided mostly not to, probably because they don't really want to live in Greece. And there have been other royals who have lived in the United States as well, who have spent time here. But none of them have actually caused as much controversy as Harry and Meghan. No other royal is constantly calling the press to their attention. Now, some people say, well, it's just Harry and Meghan aren't doing that. I've watched royals closely for 10 years. I've never seen anything like what's happened when Meghan came into the royal family. When Meghan came into the royal family, there were leaks everywhere. Now, you could say that the royal family was leaking on her, but Meghan Markle, again, you have to look at Meghan Markle as to who she has always tried to be. She's always tried to be famous. She arranged paparazzi strolls for herself and couldn't sell the pictures because nobody cared. And she has always been chasing this fame monster. So even though I think probably some aspects of the palace did leak stories about Meghan, mostly negative ones because they did not like her, because apparently she was quite the bully when she came in. But she, I also think, leaked a lot of stories herself through her peons. And so this attention that they're constantly gathering on themselves is a monster of their own creation. They don't mind the attention necessarily. I think Meghan Markle actually loves the attention. What she hates is when the attention questions things that she doesn't want them to question. And Harry, I think, is so, as he has described himself, or as his family has described Harry's reality to him, is that he lives in this delusional and paranoid fantasy land. And so Harry thinks everybody's against them and that Meghan Markle is the best thing ever, and he worships the ground she walks on. And it's just all this craziness in his head. And so when it comes to something like the visa, I'm sure they're both fuming over there going, this is so stupid, this is so silly. And I just want to go, again, you guys have only yourselves to blame for this. You have only yourselves to blame for people questioning certain things. Now, will Harry get revoked? No. Will this really end up tanking his visa options? Probably no, at least as long as Joe Biden's in office. A different administration may have a different view, may have a strongly different view. So what does this all mean? It just means it's more of people questioning that Harry and Meghan are just not likable. And every time they open their mouths, every time they've given people something to use against them, well, people are starting to do that more and more. They're starting to look at them going, you know what? You said that you had tried cocaine, that you've used cocaine, that you've used marijuana, that you've used mushrooms, and that's a question on an American visa. Do you deserve to have this visa if you didn't answer those questions correctly? And I think Harry should be held to the standard of everybody else, because that's who he is now. That's who he is now. He is everybody else. He gave up his royal status, basically. He gave up his royal life to be a cut rate producer in Hollywood, to produce rom-coms, because that's what Meghan wants to produce. And who's to blame for that? Why, it's Harry and Meghan. So if he wants anybody to blame for all this additional scrutiny, he can blame his wife and himself. But if he wants to, for example, actually just be a normal guy, actually try to do something without involving the monarchy and go back to maybe just being Harry Windsor, that would be a vast improvement. I would actually applaud if Harry and Meghan dropped the stupid royal title bit and just tried to be themselves. But we all know they can't be that, and that the reason they're there in Hollywood is to try to desperately make it, because Meghan never could, because she just didn't have the talent in the first place. And I don't think Harry has much talent to speak of either. Although will say I think he seems like a warm person. That's what everybody reports. But can he be a producer? I don't know. So should his visa be revoked? Maybe, but I doubt it will be, and I think that's probably fine. So guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of Prince Harry's visa status. Is he abusing the system for his own gain? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.